Okay, ready to dive deep into Mauritius and their AI ambitions? You guys sent over a ton of articles and research on how this tiny island nation is shooting to become a major player in the African tech world.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They're not just trying to catch up to the rest of the world.
Right.
It's more like they want to jump ahead, almost like they're making a model for other countries to follow.
I like that, jumping ahead. So, where do we even start with this story?
Well, that TATANKA article is a good place to start.
Yeah.
It really highlights this Digital Mauritius 2030 plan. It's basically their plan for incorporating tech into every part of their society.
Oh,
Everything from government to healthcare, it's all about becoming a truly digital nation.
ambitious, right.
Mm.
But is that even possible for, an island nation that's relatively small?
Well, what they may lack in size,
Yeah.
they make up for in strategic thinking.
Yeah.
Their location is a huge advantage.
Right.
They're perfectly positioned to act as a bridge between Africa and the global markets, especially in Asia and Europe.
So they're kind of like a central hub
Exactly.
where ideas and resources can flow easily.
Yeah, and they're really leaning into that advantage by creating an environment that's stable and attractive for tech investments.
Yeah.
The government's really stepping up with initiatives to help these startups, especially in the AI space.
The articles mention this Mauritius Research and Innovation Council, MRIC.
Yeah.
What are they doing exactly?
The MRIC is kind of like a venture capitalist with a big heart.
Okay.
They're providing funding, mentorship, even networking opportunities to all these brand new AI startups.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like a nurturing incubator, giving these companies the best chance to really take root and grow.
That sounds promising, but wouldn't one of the biggest hurdles be creating the technological infrastructure for all of this?
Oh, for sure. Robust digital infrastructure is key for any nation that's serious about AI.
Right.
And this is where things get really interesting. Mauritius is putting a lot of money into advanced data centers and making sure they have high-speed internet across the island.
No.
So they're essentially building this digital superhighway to support not just their own startups, but also attract international companies who want to be in Africa.
So they're kind of building a foundation to be like a data haven in Africa.
Exactly.
Mm.
They're attracting investment not just with their location and stability, but with the promise of a super strong digital foundation.
Right.
And it's not just about those big international players. They're also growing their own talent pool.
I was just going to ask about that. They'll need a tech-savvy workforce to build and maintain all this.
Right. So they're investing in education and training programs to make sure they have the skilled workers to achieve those big goals. But it's not just about pumping out programmers and coders.
Right.
They're focusing on building a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship.
So it sounds like Mauritius is all in on becoming Africa's AI launchpad. But how does this fit into the bigger picture of Africa's role in the global tech scene, particularly in the global south?
That's where things get really exciting. Mauritius's success is actually part of this much bigger trend of digital transformation sweeping across Africa.
Wow.
The continent has so much untapped potential. It's the youngest continent with a rapidly growing population.
Yeah.
And many people see AI as the key to unlocking that potential and transforming industries.
So you're saying that AI has the potential to not only solve local challenges in Africa, but also offer solutions that could have global implications.
Exactly. We're already seeing AI being used in innovative ways in agriculture, healthcare, and education.
Yeah.
For instance, in healthcare, there's this amazing project using AI-powered diagnostic tools to analyze retinal images. And they can detect diabetic retinopathy. This is a big deal because it can help identify this major cause of blindness, especially in rural areas where they might not have access to ophthalmologists.
Wow, that's impressive. It sounds like AI is being used to tackle some pretty significant challenges in Africa.
Oh, absolutely. And the great thing is that these solutions aren't limited to Africa. They can be adapted and used globally.
Okay, so we've got all this incredible potential in Africa, and we have Mauritius strategically positioning itself as a leader in AI. But how do they plan to bridge the gap between this cutting-edge tech and their own unique cultural heritage? I mean, isn't there a risk of losing something valuable in this rush towards modernization?
That's a really good question. And it leads us to one of the most fascinating parts of this story, the story of Nalini Mahadeo.
Oh, yeah?
She really embodies that delicate balance between tradition and technology.
Yeah, the TATANKA article really highlighted her story. She's the AI researcher who turned the Albion Lighthouse into an innovation hub, right? It's almost like something out of a movie.
It really is. It perfectly shows how Mauritius is finding ways to embrace their past while still pioneering the future.
Yeah.
And her Lagoon AI project is a perfect example of this.
Okay, let's dive into that story then. So Lagoon AI, what's that all about? Sounds kind of sci-fi, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound futuristic. But at its core, Lagoon AI is using this cutting-edge AI to improve and preserve traditional fishing in Mauritius.
Hmm. How's that work exactly?
Well, Nalini and her team basically took all this knowledge that's been passed down for generations from fishermen, and they combined it with these sophisticated algorithms,
Oh.
all to predict fish populations and, promote sustainable fishing.
So it's like they're using technology to help these traditional fishing methods survive, for years to come.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance where
Yeah.
tech can actually help these existing practices instead of replacing them completely.
Right.
But getting those fishermen on board wasn't easy. There was a lot of doubt in the beginning.
Yeah, I bet. It's got to be hard to go from relying on your instincts to trusting a computer to tell you where the fish are.
Absolutely. The article talks about this guy, Mr. Anwar, a really experienced fisherman who just wasn't buying it at first.
What changed his mind?
Nalini knew that trust has to be earned. She spent time getting to know the fishermen, hearing their concerns, and showing how Lagoon AI could actually help them.
So she had a really people-focused approach to this new technology.
Exactly. And the results really speak for themselves. Lagoon AI not only helped these guys catch more fish, but it gave them valuable info that helped protect the whole ecosystem.
Mm.
Mr. Anwar, the one who was totally against it, ended up becoming one of Lagoon AI's biggest supporters.
Wow, that's awesome. It really shows that adopting new tech isn't just about the fancy algorithms.
Right.
It's about understanding what people need and building trust.
Totally. It's a perfect example of how powerful technology can be when it's introduced with respect for people's knowledge and traditions. But Lagoon AI was just the start for Nalini. She wanted to help start Lighthouse Start, an incubator just for African AI startups.
So she's not just developing AI solutions, she's building a whole community to support other innovators.
Exactly. She saw this huge amount of talent across Africa just waiting to be unleashed. Lighthouse Start brings these bright minds together and gives them the resources and mentorship they need to develop AI for Africa's specific challenges.
From what I read, she seems to be really careful about what kind of projects she supports. It's not just about tech for tech's sake.
Absolutely. Nalini really believes that tech should make life better and create a fair and more sustainable world.
Right.
She emphasizes ethics and how these projects impact communities.
Yeah, I remember reading about Amina, that young developer from Senegal. Her project at Lighthouse Start really caught my eye.
Oh yeah, Amina's story is a great example of the impact Lighthouse Start is having. She developed an AI model that uses satellite data to predict droughts in the Sahel region.
Wow.
It's like an early warning system, which is vital for communities to prepare and deal with the effects of droughts.
That's amazing how AI is empowering people to take on their own challenges.
Yeah, Nalini's whole vision is about using tech to close the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And she's doing it in a way that respects African traditions and knowledge.
So we've talked about all this incredible work Nalini's doing and her vision for a better future. But what are the big takeaways here? What can we learn from her approach to AI, especially in the Global South?
Well, there are a few important lessons here. First, Nalini's story shows how important it is to find that sweet spot between tradition and tech.
Yeah.
It's not about blindly adopting gadgets or throwing away the wisdom of the past.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly. It's about understanding that technology can actually help us preserve our heritage, like we saw with Lagoon AI.
Right.
Second, it emphasizes approaching AI development with a deep understanding of people's needs and a commitment to using technology for the right reasons. We need to ask ourselves, how can AI help us create a fairer and more sustainable world?
It's about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And lastly, Nalini's story shows Mauritius as a beacon of possibility. This small nation is proving that size doesn't matter when it comes to innovation.
They're really punching above their weight.
Totally. And they're showing us that we can achieve amazing things with a clear vision, a collaborative spirit, and a dedication to using technology for good.
Yeah.
It's a real inspiration for everyone, both in Africa and worldwide.
It seems like Mauritius is setting a new standard for how we think about AI in the 21st century. But before we wrap up, there's this idea that I found really interesting in the articles you sent. The lighthouse keeper's algorithm.
Ah, yeah, that's a powerful way to think about it. It really highlights that human element in AI.
Can you tell me more? So this lighthouse keeper's algorithm, what does that even mean?
Well, it's not like an actual algorithm you'd code.
Yeah.
It's more a way of thinking
Okay.
about developing AI with the same care and focus that a lighthouse keeper has for their job.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Think about it. Lighthouse keepers, they don't just, like, change the light bulb.
Right.
They know how important that light is for guiding ships through dangerous waters.
Yeah.
Lives actually depend on them doing their job right.
So are you saying that with AI, we need to be super careful about what our tech could do, like the consequences?
Exactly. It's all about asking ourselves those tough questions, like, who really benefits from this? Who might get hurt? Are we making existing biases worse? Are we messing with people's privacy? Every AI developer should be thinking about these things.
So it's not just about being good at the tech stuff.
Right.
It's about realizing how much AI can impact people's lives and, like, taking responsibility for that.
Exactly. And remembering that AI isn't some neutral tool, it reflects the values and biases of the people who make it. We need to make sure those values are about making the world a better and fairer place.
So the Lighthouse Keeper's algorithm is basically a call for a more ethical approach to AI.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a reminder to be guided by fairness, transparency, and accountability.
It's about making sure AI works for people.
Exactly, not the other way around. And it means we need to be open and honest about the kind of future we want with AI. And that's not just a conversation for the tech people, it's for everyone.
That's a powerful message. So for our listeners today, what can they take away from this deep dive into Mauritius and their role in this AI revolution in Africa?
I think Mauritius is a great example of what the future could be, where tech and humanity work together, where innovation is about respecting culture and solving real problems.
Yeah. It's proof that even small countries can have a big impact on the world.
Yeah.
Especially when they're open to working together and focus on what they're good at.
It's like a call to action for all of us to be those lighthouse keepers in our own ways. To approach AI with a sense of responsibility, knowing it can really change the world around us.
To ask ourselves, how can we use AI to make things better in our communities and for the whole world? How can we make sure it benefits everyone?
Right, that's the challenge and the opportunity in front of us.
Yeah.
And it's great to see places like Mauritius leading the way.
Well, that was fascinating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI in Mauritius and how it's affecting Africa and beyond.
It's been my pleasure. And I hope this makes our listeners think about the role they want to play in shaping the future of AI.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning.